Right, hello everyone, and welcome to the P. Carroll Sport podcast. It is not an emotional episode, but it's the last episode of the County Hurling Championship season for 2024. We are 2 days removed now from the County Hurling Finals down in Semple Stadium, and a great day's entertainment down on Sunday in Thurles. But yeah, this is probably going to be the last podcast for. I'm not too sure. I'll see what I'll do in this off season. I know we still have Munster Club and things like that to come. But we'll see. We'll see where we go for the next few weeks. I'm doing the green cert at the minute, and I've probably neglected my work on that the last few weeks with all the games and things like that. So I do need to get back into that in the next few weeks. But yeah, we'll see where it goes after this week. We have a nice podcast lined up. We're going to look back on the County Hurling finals, of course, and also towards the end of this week's podcast, I've put together my senior club hurling team of the year in Tipperary. So team of the year from the Dan Breen Championship. Incredibly hard thing to do because you can only fit 15 in. You're leaving out so many lads, but I'll try apply as much logic as I can. I have changed it around during the day. I had a thing set up where I was going to be able to slowly reveal my team. I had a graphic made up, but I've actually changed one or two names since I made that graphic, so I'm going to have to make that graphic again tomorrow, and I'll put it out on Twitter tomorrow. But yeah, that's coming up towards the end of the podcast where I'll give my team of the season, and yeah, looking forward to that. I put it out on Twitter today just to get people's thoughts. Was there any names definitely that I couldn't leave out, and there were some names that popped up that I definitely already had in the team. So yeah, let's get straight to it. So we will start with the senior final. We'll start with the big one: Toomevara against Lockmore Castellani. Lockmore 219, Toomevara 117. That was the full time score down in Semple Stadium. First of all, a very entertaining game. It really opened up into life in the last 5-10 minutes. Really big occasion down in Semple Stadium. There was just under 7,000 people there. Felt like a real big day. You had the Shaun Tracey pipe band down there. You had a novel final between two teams who'd never met in the final. The curtain raiser was a brilliant game. We'll get to that in a little bit as well, between Cashel and Carrick Swan. And there was a huge crowd at that game. Particularly, for some reason, the people from that game seemed to go to the old stand, which is at the tunnel side in Semple Stadium, and below us where we were commentating on. So it sounded really loud, especially for that game. But a really fine crowd for the second game as well. So it felt like a real big occasion before the game. And Lockmore, we kind of talked about it on last week's podcast. I expected this to be a close game where Lockmore might pull away late on with their experience, and that's kind of how it did play out. I thought Toomevara were really game opponents throughout. There was a fear maybe going down that would Toom maybe get caught up in the occasion and that sort of thing. But God, there was no fear of that whatsoever, because the first 5 minutes it was first 10-15 minutes it was point for point pretty much. There was no sign of Toom players being a little bit jittery or anything like that. Both free takers, John McGrath and Darren McCarthy, both got kind of nice frees to settle them early as well. Their first frees were fairly central. And yeah, the game just kind of took on this life of pure work rate and pure, lads throwing themselves into tackles, getting on the ball, hassling, harrying. A lot of times the Lockmore backs had to really work hard to work the ball out of the backs. I thought the Toom forwards worked so hard throughout, and yeah, as the game progressed on, if you're watching it on YouTube, you can see the first thing I've written down is John McGrath 113. I believe 1-3 of that was from play. Incredible performance from John McGrath. Not only the frees, but the goal he got late on was just massive, because when Conor O'Mara got that goal, Toom were 5 points down. Conor O'Mara gets an unbelievable goal. I've watched it back so many times. I don't know how he got the space to get the shot away with one hand on his hurley. Such an incredible piece of skill, and to get the power on it as well, to drive it into the top of the net with one hand on the hurley, long grip as well, and somehow not getting hooked. It was just a great bit of improvisation from Conor O'Mara for Toom there. But when that goal went in, it felt like, okay, now we're going to have a grandstand finish. But Lockmore, I suppose that might be where the experience comes in. John McGrath just doesn't give up on what could have been a blind alley or a dead end running down, because it looked like Andrew Ryan was going to get to the ball before him, and Andrew Ryan did get to the ball before him, but John McGrath knocks it off his hurley, gets it, shrugs off the tackle of Jake Hackett, and somehow squeezes it in past Rory Breslan from a tight angle, bounces it off the ground. Somehow, like, it was pretty good position from Rory Breslan. I think it just crept in between the posts, and John McGrath said it in the interview afterwards, that it just kind of crept in between Rory Breslan's leg and the post and into the back of the net, and that was a huge moment in the game. That was the moment in the game, really. But the first half was pretty much even Stevens. I thought it was 12 points to 10 at half time. Toom did feel hard done by at times in the first half with some refereeing decisions. Ken Dunn actually got a yellow card. He got a yellow card at the start of the second half, just as he came out of the tunnel. The referee flashed a yellow card at him. And he wasn't happy with a number of decisions. There was throws and steps called and little kind of technicalities like that at times, and that always kind of maybe puts more pressure on a referee when they do blow for those things, because suddenly everyone's looking for the throw at every stage and everyone's calling steps and things like that. Now there was one incident where Tommy Maher was running through for Lockmore, and Seamus O'Farrell kind of stood him up the cornerback for Toom, and he actually just got the hurley. It was pretty much a charge, really, just hurley and forearm right under the chin. And that was a play on, and eventually Toom did get a free out, but Tommy Maher was maybe a little bit lucky there not to get any card on that instance. So you could see the frustration with Ken Dunn and co coming in for at half time, and he got a yellow card. And second half I thought was refereed pretty well, and it was a close game throughout. 2-3 points in it all the way. You kind of felt like Toom were hanging on. They were hanging in there. Darren McCarthy was nailing some big frees, got some big frees from distance. But you felt they were hanging on. Like Toom were always 3-4 points behind, 2-3-4-5 points behind, that kind of margin. They never really could get it back level in that second half. And Lockmore were always kind of able to just keep jabbing them away and keeping them at a bit of an arm's distance. But 5 points up with 56 minutes to go, with 56 minutes gone, it was a goal from Paul McCahey off the bench. And again, John McGrath out on the sideline, throws up this lovely dummy, steps inside, pops the hand pass off to, was it Philip O'Connell or Owen O'Connell? And Owen O'Connell could have tapped the ball over the bar from inside the 21, bit of an angle. Instead, he hand passes it forward. Toom defence kind of a little bit scramble mode at this stage, and off to Paul McCahey, the substitute. He cuts in on his left and drills it low. Rory Breslan comes out to close him down. Andrew Ryan goes back on the line like any good full-back would, but it was just a low drill shot through the legs of Andrew Ryan. It was close range. It was one of those ones where you're never really going to be able to react quick enough. You're just kind of hoping it hits you. And unfortunately for Andrew Ryan, it went through his legs. But big moment in the game. That was with 5 minutes to go, and that kind of felt like the moment where that was it. Lockmore were going to see it out from there, or Toom would need something big. And in fairness, Conor O'Mara was introduced. I don't have it written down the exact minute. He came on for Adam Hall. He got 2 good points when he did come on, but the goal was massive. Just a long ball down edge of the square from a long range free, and lands in around the edge of the square. A lot of bodies in there. Breaks to Conor O'Mara. As I was saying there, one hand on the hurley, throws it up under pressure, swings it into the top of the net from close range. Class goal, and suddenly it was back to 2 points, and it was a huge moment in the game. And you were thinking, right, we have an unbelievable finish here, but no less than 45 seconds later, the puck out goes down the field, it breaks in behind. Andrew Ryan Locke is running back towards his own goals, kind of out to the side, and John McGrath just, it wasn't even a foul. Like, it was just brilliant timing to come in, and just as Andrew Ryan is kind of lifting the ball up, he kind of flicks it off him, shoulders him. Andrew Ryan off balance, slips into John McGrath's hand, and as I was saying, beat the tackle of Jake Hackett. Was it Jake Hackett or Josh Powell? I think it was Jake Hackett, yeah. And put it low past Rory Breslan, bounced it into the back of the net. And that was just a moment of class, special moments, special players on the big day. And that was John McGrath. Like, what a year he's had. I have the scores written down. We'll go through what he scored. I think something like 161 or something in the championship, or 160 John McGrath got. So incredible from him. And it's not just what he does from scoring, like, what his role in setting up Paul McCahey's goal as well. Like, that doesn't show up on any kind of score sheet or anything like that. But no, just brilliant stuff from John McGrath. Such a good target man as well. But so yeah, Toom had a few chances and lobbed the ball in around the square and went for 21-yard frees late on. But I kind of said in the preview podcast that for Toom to win this game, you kind of needed big performances from the periphery players, or the players outside Darren McCarthy. Jack Delaney chipped in for 2 points, worked very hard throughout. Kevin McCarthy had 2 points as well. But you kind of felt they needed maybe a few early goals, and they didn't really get too much goal chances. And Darren McCarthy himself got 9 points, 8 from frees and 1 from play. You just kind of felt that he every time the ball kind of came to him, he was doing the right thing. He was playing well, but Lockmore kind of had it well sussed out. They were kind of stopping a lot of ball going into Darren McCarthy. I felt anyway, and then the likes of Adam Hall, young player, just never really got into the game. Mark McCarthy worked hard there, hit a few good sidelines, but couldn't really affect the scoreboard. And it kind of felt like that kind of day where if Toom were to beat the experienced Lockmore team, this kind of generational Lockmore team for what they've achieved as a group of players, if you were to beat them, you kind of needed all those things to go your way. You needed the likes of Adam Hall, maybe Darren McCarthy from play a bit more, a Jack Delaney maybe to pop up for the goal or something like that, like Conor O'Mara did when he came on. You probably needed just one more player to do something like that for Toom. But they were right there the whole way through. I was really impressed by the fact that they weren't starstruck by the occasion at all. First final for a lot of them players, big crowd in Semple Stadium against a much more experienced Lockmore team. They were kind of losing throughout, but I never felt like they're not up to the occasion here. So I think Toomevara people would be very disappointed with of course losing a county final, because people from Toom aren't all that used to losing county finals. But I think they'll be happy enough. It's still quite a young team. There's still a good few years left in most of those players. Although it is a kind of nicely balanced team, but I think they've earned a lot of experience and earned a lot of respect from their performance. But looking from a Lockmore point of view, the substitutes were massive. Paul Mackay with the goal, Kieran McCormack in what was a difficult week for him with the passing of his grandfather earlier last week. He comes on, gets 2 points straight away. Kieran McGrath comes on and gets a point. Noel McGrath was kind of sweeping at the back, and he's just so composed. There was one stage there in the second half where he got the ball, I think he was like inside his own 21 under pressure, and he just, on the spin, out past the far 65, straight into John McGrath's hand. Like, it was just, he's unbelievable to watch, Noel McGrath. And, he's just so good to watch. Kieran Connelly was good. Ed Connolly didn't score, but down the stretch, he caught some big puck outs and got on some big possessions. Thought he was very good. A player I've been impressed with throughout the campaign for Lockmore is Willie Evanston. Really, not just a sticky corner back, but always does the right thing in possession of the ball, and was very impressed with how he played throughout the championship. Lorcan Egan then on Darren McCarthy done very well, held him to a point from play. I think the Lockmore people would have definitely taken that before the game. Who else? Lee McGrath chipped in for a point. Lockmore did look dangerous just before half time. There was a stage where I think a short puck out went to, was it Barry O'Connell, and he just played a very dangerous hand pass or ball across the kind of centre inside his own 45. It was cut out. There was kind of half a goal chance on for Lockmore, for Lockmore. I think they put it over the bar for a finish, or did they win a free? I think they just put it over the bar. But those moments were a bit worrisome for Toom just coming up to half time. But all in all, really entertaining game. And the bench was a big impact there. I've written down in front of me. But John McGrath, 113, man of the match performance. And it's another one for Lockmore, just the fifth in their history. They've won at 88, 2007, 2013, 2021, and now 2024. And it's well documented at this stage now. They're going for a double, another double. They've done a double in 2013, 2021. And now they're taking on Clonmel Commercial. So they're the only team to ever do a double, and they're looking to do it for a third time now in the senior grade. And looking forward to that football final. I'll be doing it on Tip FM on Sunday against Clonmel Commercials, who are kind of chasing their own bit of history. They're looking to break the record for most Tipperary senior football titles. They're currently level on Feathered. I think it's on 21 titles, I think. So they're looking for, or maybe it's 22, and they're looking for a 23rd. Either way, they're level with Feathered. And they're going to try and break that record, and they're going to try win 3 in a row for a first time in a long time. I think Moy Rovers done it in the early 2000s. And interestingly, as we go on a bit of a tangent, talking about the football, Commercials were going for 3 in a row back in 2021 when Lockmore won the double. So it's another meeting between those two teams. They drew earlier in the championship. It's incredible. It's incredible what Lockmore are doing, like, because it's such an outlier. They're a special group of players. They're so used to playing with each other, and it's nothing to them, which is just unbelievable. So it was great to be down there. Great to just see this kind of what is going to be remembered as a great Lockmore team. Like, this is a special time in the Lockmore club, and I'm sure they're enjoying these times as best they can, because the likes of Noel, John, these players, like even Brian there, has had a really, really good year. And the just unity they all have together, the work rate, the skill level. The skill level is often kind of underrated part of Lockmore, but they're all really good hurlers, so willing to work, and such a good attitude. So they're worthy winners of this county championship, unbeaten throughout. They're mid champions, and now they're county champions, and fair play to them. I'm personally, they're going into the semi-finals now of the Munster Championship, and they're going to be playing the winners of the Limerick champions and Ballygunner. So I'm sure people in Lockmore would love to have another crack at Ballygunner, considering how that Munster Championship went 2 years ago when John and Noel got sent off, or back in 2021 for kind of half nothing between the two of them. And I remember that day being really annoyed at Ballygunner. I remember who was their fullback at the time kind of threw himself down to the ground and kind of got the player sent off, and it made me very much not like that Ballygunner team for a while. Now they're an unbelievable team as well, got some class hurlers. Saw them against Killer One there 2 years ago in the flesh and was just incredibly impressed. Stephen O'Keefe, really is one of the best goalies in the country. Desi Hutchinson, we all know their players that they have at this stage, but I'd say Lockmore would love to have a crack at Ballygunner. I think that's the 17th of November or something like that. It's a while away yet, so Lockmore might have a bit of a break leading into that, depending on how they go against Commercials. So we'll move on now to the curtain raiser in the Premier Intermediate final from Sunday. So this was Cashel Kincormacs against Carrick Swan, and this was another brilliant occasion. Sorry, no, I'm just trying to rip off my sheets off my copy, the hardback I have when I'm commentating. So maybe I'll just go on the big screen here. It's not much, like, but that's what I'm looking at when I'm commentating. It's just the team sheets, and I write stuff out on it as the game is happening. And I do have a sheet beside me with information. That's actually here. We may as well show that while I'm showing. So this would have been just like a fact sheet I would have done up, and results and different talking points and who's sponsoring the game for Tip FM and all that sort of thing that I've done up for each game, just so you never know when there's a stoppage in play, or just when you need a talking point before throwing, you just kind of look down and I've stats written down, and it's just what I do when I'm preparing to commentate in games. But we'll go back to the normal screen. I think this is it. Right. So we're back to Cashel Kincormacs now against Carrick Swans. So Cashel Kincormacs 217 to Carrick Swans 19 points. Massive win for Cashel Kincormacs, back up into senior. Massive win for West Tipperary hurling as well, because I'm sure Clonalty wanted Cashel to win this game so they'd have a West Championship next year. Now I know there'll be a rivalry there as well, so it's probably a bit of a win-win for people from Clonalty. But this game, in fairness, I had predicted Cashel to win it, but for the best part of 45 minutes, it was Carrick Swan who were the better team, particularly in that first half. Now, Swan were playing with a little bit of a breeze, but it wasn't a howling gale or anything like that. So it was a slow start to the game, but unfortunately for Carrick Swan, they had all the hurling in that first kind of 10-15 minutes, but they couldn't put it on the scoreboard. They did hit a few silly wides from distance. Eric O'Halloran, the captain of Carrick Swan, just battled throughout the game, but he just didn't have the shooting, not the shooting boots, if you want to call it shooting hurley, I don't know, but he just didn't have the eye in. Hit a few wides, and some other players also hit some kind of poor wides from distance in the first half and kind of lost a bit of momentum. But they did go in 11 points to 1-5 up at half time. But I'd say TJ Connelly and the Cashel crowd were kind of happy with that, because they didn't hurl in that first half really. They weren't let. It was a really good performance from Carrick Swan, and that's just something I think they'll be kicking themselves, because they did hurl really well in that first half, but just a lot of silly wides and poor shots from distance. But the goal for Cashel kind of kept him in it in the first half. It was 3 points to no score after what 12 3 points to 1 after about 12 minutes, and then that's when James Cummins out on the sideline about 30 yards out from the end line on the new stand, hitting in towards the town end, puts the ball on his hurley under pressure, and whether he was shooting or what, or he had spotted the run of Devon Ryan, it was perfect into his hand. Devon Ryan on the run, coming in on the 14, drilled it past Kieran Lonergan, absolutely nothing he could do in the goals. And that was a huge moment, because Cashel were very much not in that game. I also have, so at halftime is 11 points to 1-5, so it was very much all Carrick Swan, and very much led by Callum Lanigan. He had a point after 20 seconds, he had 13 points for the day, and he was incredibly impressive for just 19 years of age. And it's been mentioned throughout this championship that no doubt he will be a part of Brendan Cummins' under 20 panel next year, you would have to think. But Nathan Ryan, I have written down, was on thin ice early on. He was very much done a lot of fouling early on, and he eventually got the yellow card after a couple of loose swipes and things like that. The Carrick Swan crowd weren't happy with maybe Callum Walsh. Con Bonner was very, very tight on him for a couple of balls coming in there. But yeah, it was 11 points to 1-5 at the half in favour of Carrick Swans. And you're expecting, right, Cash will have the wind in the second half here. They surely got a talking to from TJ Connelly and a G'ing up at half time, but Carrick came out and got the first couple of points in that second half and were settled into the second half, and they'd made things very difficult for Cashel until Danny O'Hanlon comes on the field. I think was it the 37th minute or whatever. The first ball that goes into him, Conor Dwyer's coming out with it, and he just meets him with a shoulder, and you're thinking, was it a shoulder? Was it just behind him? Either way, it's a free out, but you're not thinking too much of it because it's literally on the edge of Cashel's D. But it's Owen Connolly taking it, Breeze at his back, and you're like, right, is he going to look for a pass into the corner? Is he going to go for it? And he stood over the ball, and when he was standing over it, you're thinking, right, he's going to have a pop here with the wind in his back. And at the time, you're thinking, he won't want to hit this wide now, lose a bit of momentum. And struck it well, accurate, landing in around the edge of the square. I thought it was drifting wide myself for a second, and it just started to come in, and Kieran Lonergan goes up. I think it was Gavin O'Halloran on the line with them, and whatever way they got confused, or Kieran Lonergan might have thought someone was getting a touch on it, he kind of put his hand up late to catch it, and it was off his hand and into the back of the net. If it even hit his hand, I must watch it back, but just from first view, and that was a huge moment for Cashel into the back of the net. That kind of got them up and motoring, and there was 2 points in it then, so that made it 2-6 to 14 points. Point for point then for the next couple of minutes, Devon Ryan got some good scores, and then Devon Ryan got a big score out on the sideline, and running past Jack Murphy, the Carrick Swan corner back, he kind of gives him a dig, and I think Jack Murphy kind of went to give him one back and didn't connect or anything like that. Then Devon Ryan, I think, shouldered him again, and that's when Jack Murphy, just looking back on it on the replay, I didn't see it at the time because I was marking the sheet that was in front of me, marking a score past Devon Ryan's name. He just kind of flicked him into the privates, it looked like, and whether he connected with him or not, Devon Ryan went to the ground, and the referee went into the fourth official. And I've heard some people kind of complaining, I'm not sure, I had heard something like that before, that the referee and the fourth official isn't allowed to tell the referee if something's happened off the ball for some reason. I don't know why that would be a rule, but I think it might be. I'm not too sure. I'd have to look up on it myself. But he goes into the fourth official, and he spotted it, and he gave a straight red card to Jack Murphy, and that was on the 48th minute. So that was a real killer blow for Carrick Swan. They kind of given up that fortuitous goal. They'd hit a lot of wides, and now they have their corner back being sent off down to 14 men for the last 10-15 minutes of play. So that was a big loss for Carrick Swan, but they hung in there. They got it back to 2 points, and Callum Lanigan had a free inside the 45. I didn't notice it myself, but when I was kind of flicking through the game on Clubber, Bubbles mentioned it on commentary that Callum Lanigan had a new hurley in for that free, and it is kind of a thing about familiarity, and you just get a new hurley and suddenly you have to take a free, but it was inside the 45. he'd been nailing them from all over the field throughout the game, and he just missed that one. Kind of never connected with it right. It was kind of well wide from the minute it left his hurley, and that would have made it a 1 point game. So that was another blow for Carrick. And then Ger Brown comes on and just gets a scandalous score out by the sideline, and that gets the Cashel crowd up again. And in fairness to Cashel, they saw it out. Conor O'Dwyer, got a big score in the second half as well. A kind of a loose clearance, I think, from the goalkeeper. Went straight to Conor Dwyer at the far side of the field, and he just caught it and returned it over the bar. So Cashel see it out for the 217 to 19 point victory, and yeah, I think they're going to be well suited to senior hurling. They have a Munster campaign to come now. They're going to be playing the Limerick champions. I think it's either Gary Spillane or Newcastle West. That's going to be November 3rd, I think. So they have a few weeks to celebrate below Cashel yet, but yeah, good performances all over. Conor Dwyer very strong at the back. Owen Connelly, as always, if you're a listener to this podcast, massive fan of Owen Connelly. 1-7 for Devon Ryan, a good few of those from play as well, and nailed some difficult frees, especially in the second half out over at the newsstand sideline. David McGrath with 2 points, Anthony Walsh with 1, and Ross Bonner with 2. Oisin O'Donoghue and Ronan Connelly chipping in with a point apiece, as well as Conor O'Dwyer. So, they had a good spread of scores. Aaron Dunn got some nice scores for Carrick Swan in that second half. Callum Walsh got 1. Gavin O'Halloran got a point late on. That was when they were kind of lobbing the ball in around the edge of the square territory. But yeah, I think Carrick Swan will be really disappointed just because they left a good few scores behind them with those wides. But as I said, good to see a team like Cashel, strong kind of town team, and it's probably good for Tip hurling and West Tip hurling. That there's growth at that side of the county. At Cashel Community School a couple of years ago, a good few of those lads would have been playing. Well, the likes of Ronan Connelly would have been on that team. Oisin O'Donoghue, David McGrath would have been on that team. Anthony Walsh probably was on that team. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it's it's good to see. We need as much development in Tip hurling as we can. So a big town like Cashel getting back into senior is going to bring a lot of colour to the Dan Breen next year, and a lot of new matchups and things like that. Carrick or Cashel are going to be going in as bottom seeds, so they're going to be drawn against one of Toom, Moycarkey, Lockmore, and Thurles in the group stages. So whoever they get there, that's going to be a big fixture. It's, if it was someone like a Thurles, we haven't seen that matchup in a while. So I think Thurles' second team bet Cashel in a intermediate final there maybe 6 or 7 years ago. So Cashel have really come on in recent years, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they get on now in the intermediate championship in Munster. So I'd like to see them go on a run. It'd be class to see a Tip team make it up to Croke Park, and we'll see how they get on as that progresses. But yeah, they're up to the Dan Breen now. They've had some brilliant performers throughout. Cathal Quinn has been unreal throughout the campaign. As I mentioned, Owen Connelly, Oisin O'Donoghue for an 18-year-old has just been incredibly impressive as well. So I suppose they'll try and get Ger Brown back up to full fitness now. He'd kind of fix fitness difficulties this year. So if they could get him back up to full fitness as well, and the likes of Devon Ryan seem to be getting better by the year as well. So they have depth in that panel, and they're moving on to senior hurling now, and pretty much deserved. Interestingly enough, they came through the divisional route, so that they only finished third in their group. So that's probably a good thing for the divisional link as well. It's something that was kind of had to be maybe fought for in the conventions and county conventions to keep that divisional link, and it's become important because if Cashel didn't win that West Championship against Éire Óg and McCarthy in extra time, then they wouldn't be Seamus O'Reen champions. So it's important to keep the division strong, and yeah, Cashel I think are proof of that. So we'll move on now to Saturday's game, and then we will go on to our team of the year in the senior. So we'll move on to Saturday's game. Moneygall against Ballingarry, 221 playing 4-14, and yeah, so much to discuss in this game. Brilliant game down in Temple 2. He was on commentary duty for it, and yeah, in Temple 2 he were set up just kind of in the stand, so you're very much in the middle of the crowd commentating on the game, so it's always full of excitement and things like that. And this game was just brilliant. I remember saying it to Dennis Kelly at halftime on commentary that I couldn't believe it was halftime already. It felt like it just flew by. There was so much action. We'll get to Shaun Canelli in that first half. What a performance from him. But it was a slow enough start for Moneygall. Ballingarry had the early goings. Moneygall, particularly in defence, looked a bit shaky in the first few minutes. It looked like the weight of the world was on some of the players in terms of they're very jittery over the ball and things like that, and that can happen in county finals. And there was so much on the line for Moneygall because they'd lost the final 2 years ago. They suffered a loss in the semi-final last year. They were the favourites going in, favourites all year. You know, those are difficult things to deal with mentally. But so Ballingarry did get off to a strong start. They'd 1-1 after 2 minutes. A goal from Paddy Burns and some really sloppy defending from Moneygall in that instance. And Paddy Burns kind of got onto it and batted it home from close range. But they have an X factor in Shaun Canelli, and 2 minutes later, Aidan Ryan gets the ball out on the sideline on the 65, switches the play to the far corner. It's a one-on-one between Joe Ryan and Shaun Canelli. Shaun Canelli's behind him, catches the ball over his head. Joe Ryan slips. He's in one-on-one and leathers it high to the back of the net. And that was the first score for Moneygall and the first score for Shaun Canelli, who really just caught fire in the first half. Next couple of balls that went into him, he's putting points over from all angles. He got 1 point coming out to the stand in Temple-Toohey, switched Hurley into the other hand, caught the ball on the offhand, threw the ball up, switched the Hurley back, touched the slitter off his Hurley, switched hands back again, threw a bit of a shimmy over the shoulder, over the bar. It was just magic. Like he was unmarkable in that first half. Shaun Canelli. It was kind of like, you had to be there. Kind of. It was class. 1-5 from play in the first half, and it was a case of, at some stages, I think Ian Ivers was sweeping back there for Ballingarry, and they nearly had 3 men on him. At one stage, Ian Ivers wasn't even sweeping in front of Shaun Canelli. It was actually nearly just 2 lads marking him. He was kind of had found that rich of a vein of form. And in fairness to Ballingarry, they kind of quenched it in the second half. Moneygall couldn't really get too much ball into him. Moneygall were playing with the breeze in the first half as well, worth mentioning. But so Moneygall, after that goal from Connelly, they started to get on top. They got a couple of points. They ended up going 3 points up. But then Thomas Welton broke onto a ball and they kind of just inside the 45 and broke through a couple of tackles. Threw up a dummy hand pass and then just leathered it low past Kieran Quinlan. I remember at the time a lot of the Moneygall defenders and the goalkeeper Kieran Quinlan was going mad that I don't know if they were saying he threw it up and caught it or what happened. I'd love to find out what exactly they were complaining about, because I looked back on it and like from my angle when I was in the stand, it looked like he just had the ball in his hurley and kind of threw up that dummy hand pass and threw it up and hit it into the back of the net then. But I don't know, maybe did he bobble it or throw it up and catch it or something. The Moneygall defenders, in fairness to them, 2 or 3 of them reacted straight away. So that kind of tells me it's not someone just pretending that he threw it up and caught it to try and get a free out, that something must have happened. So either way, Thomas Welton, brilliant run down through the middle and a great finish as well. So that was big for Ballingarry against the breeze, underdogs. They went in at half time. What were they? It was 1-12 for Moneygall, 2-7 for Ballingarry. So what was it? Only 2 points in it at half time. So I think Ballingarry would have been really happy with that. But Moneygall, in fairness, really turned it on in the second half. Joe Fogarty in particular, nailing frees, getting big scores from play. 11 points in total for him on the day. But it was Paddy Fogarty, the captain of the team. He got the big goal on the 45th minute. Such a direct runner with the ball. Got in. Finished it from close range, but every time he gets the ball, he's looking to break tackles and looking to make a run. So he scored 5-9 in the championship, so that kind of tells you his style of play, and it was great to watch. But yeah, Moneygall found the going tougher in the second half in terms of trying to get scores and against that breeze, but they did. Adam Hogan got 2 points. I mentioned the 11 points of Joe Fogarty. Tig White got a couple of points in the second half as well for a young player, done well. Owen White got one from distance. I think that might have been the first half. And we mentioned that Paddy Fogarty goal. But it was all Moneygall for that period. And with 10 minutes to go, it was 220 to 210. So a 10-point lead for Moneygall. 10 minutes to go. After Paddy Fogarty got that goal, they knocked on a couple of points and went up by 10. And that kind of felt like, right, that's it, it's done now. And Moneygall introduced a few substitutions, and I don't think it was a case of get lads a run in the county final kind of thing, but it wasn't too far off, I'd say, as well, because they were so far up. But then Ballingarry introduced a couple of subs, Owen Pollard, Aidan Ryan. Aidan Ryan actually broke onto a ball, and if he had his touch right, he had a goal chance. He kind of fumbled it out over the end line, but that was literally the first ball that came to him just after he came on. He ended up getting a good point, and then he actually broke onto a goal. So Aidan Ryan comes on, gets the goal, and then they get kind of 2 quick points. Worth mentioning Dylan Walsh, actually. I forgot to mention him. 10 points on the day. Got some crazy good scores. Missed a few early on. He just missed a few points early on, and they just weren't going over for him. But he stayed at it, and he was a big part in everything good that Ballingarry done, as you'd expect. And he got it going. He got some scandalous scores in the second half as well. And he actually broke on to what would have been a goal, only he was hauled to the ground by Andy Hoolan, who, it was pure rugby tackle job. It was a gilt-edged goal chance for Dylan Walsh if he had got around Andy Hoolan, but he just wrapped him up and dragged him to the ground. And he actually done the same thing a few minutes later and got a second yellow card approaching injury time. But so Aidan Ryan comes on, gets that goal. Ballingarry through Dylan Walsh gets a quick couple of points, and suddenly there's only 5 points in it. Andy Hoolan gets that second yellow as we tick into the injury time, and there's 4 points in it then. And then a long ball, Ian Ivers gets a really good connection on a free from inside his own half and lobs it in around the edge of the square. A lot of bodies go up for it, goes in over the head of everyone into the hands of Owen Pollard, the substitute who just come on, and he flicks it into the back of the net, like kind of it lands in his chest nearly, catches it, and into the back of the net. And like out of nowhere, there was a point in it, and when the ball hit the back of the net, there was so many Moneygall heads around me in the stand, like just kind of like this, and it got very, very worrisome times. And the last kind of, if you were to just flick this game on Clubber later in the week, the last kind of 5 minutes, particularly after that goal goes in, it's just the mother of all battles for possession in the middle of the field. There's lads throwing themselves into tackles. There's so many bodies in that middle third, and the Ballingarry fullback, Paul Butler, the captain of the team, he made a run out to the sideline to try and be free for a ball if it came out to him, and they'd no one left back home because everyone was just winning this one last ball. It was 4 minutes into injury time, and the ball breaks, hand pass back to the centre back Simon Blackmore. He did score a point, I think, or did he from range? Maybe that could have been, or Declan Hayes, maybe he's down for a point, so it could have been him. But it was Simon Blackmore who the ball came out to, inside his own 45, or maybe just on the 45, wind at his back, central position, and he's lining up to get like a spectacular leveler. And Aidan Ryan, again for Moneygall, just comes flying in and gets just a sensational block. And the ball breaks forward to substitute Mark Fanning, who's then in one-on-one with the goalie, last puck of the game in the county final. But his shot is low and just wide, and that ended up being the last play. Kevin Jordan, the referee, asked for the slitter after that. So it was just a sensational finish. When Simon Blackmore did get that ball, Paul Butler, as I mentioned, had made that run, but it was not an impossible pass, but it's going to be incredibly hard for a player to spot that with so many bodies around him when you're in a central position. And it was more so just a brilliant block by Aidan Ryan than anything else. So Aidan Ryan, I thought, was really good throughout. Really hard worker, got on a load of breaks and had a really good performance in that. And yeah, Moneygall look very good. They look strong. They look like a fit team, and they're going to be into the Premier Intermediate Championship now. There's no Intermediate Championship for them in Munster because Cashel will be representing Tipperary, but Moneygall go up into the Premier Intermediate, and it's hard to have much fears about them at all. They're a really young team with a bit of experience as well, but with lots of nice young players there. And then they have a couple of X-Factor players that can just keep you in any game. We mentioned Shaun Canelli there, 1-5 in the first half. If they put together a highlight reel of the scores he got, like it was just so good to watch and encouraging from a Tipperary point of view, because Liam Cahill, I spotted him having a word with Shaun Canelli after the match as well. Liam Cahill, of course, a Ballingarry man, so he was at the game. Joe Fogarty as well, 11 points. Joe Fogarty kind of pops up with big moments for Moneygall. That point he got against Kappa White late on kind of comes to mind as well. But fair play to Moneygall. They've been knocking on that door for a few years. They ended up doing it the hard way, but they got over the line 221 to 414 for Ballingarry. Dylan Walsh has been one of the stories of the championship. I'd be shocked if Liam Cahill hasn't already been onto him about getting in with Tipperary. And like, it's not, he's playing at such a level where it's not like you're just kind of saying, oh, get him into the squad, you know. It's kind of like nearly get him into the team. Like he's played to that standard. So interesting to see how he develops now from here. You know, I'd say he's probably a year or two younger than me. He's probably 25 or 26. So interesting to see now how he pushes on. He'll surely get the chance from a Liam Cahill point of view. So, as I said, fair play to Moneygall. I don't think there'll be any fear of them up at the next grade. I think they're going to be very much competitive, to say the least, up at that grade. So, that was the start. That was a brilliant game, brilliant entertainment in Templetooey, and the three finals over the weekend were very, very good games as well. So, before we get to our team of the year, we got to mention Shaun Tracey's. Shaun Tracey's had a 219 to 119 victory over Newport in the Premier Intermediate relegation final replay, and watched this game back just today, and entertaining last couple of minutes for sure. For Newport, they'd no Sean O'Brien, so he didn't come back from Thailand like he did the first day, and of course that was a loss. 219 to 119, 3 points for finish, but this game wasn't a 3-point game throughout. You know, Newport really clawed it back in that second half. It was a brilliant start for Shaun Tracey's. Michael Feehan had a goal after 3 minutes. That made it 1-2 to no score. It eventually went to 1-4 to no score before Conor O'Mahony got a score for Newport after 8 minutes. So this was on Saturday in the Rag. And there was a big moment just before half-time. Mikey Feehan, again, looking for a second goal. His shot was kind of saved on the line. I think I've Conor O'Mahony written down, but I don't actually think it was him. It could have been him now, I'm not too sure, but it was literally 10 yards out, cut inside, leathered it at the goals between Paul Hogan, the goalkeeper for Newport, and whoever that backman was. They both kind of just threw themselves at it. It deflected off a hurley and over the bar. So 113 to 7 points was the half-time score. So a 9-point lead for Shaun Tracey's, and it wasn't looking good for Newport. They kind of started tit for tat for the second half, and then Paddy Carey for Shaun Tracey's got a goal in the 41st minute. That made it 213 to 10 points. And you're kind of thinking, right, that's going to be that. But in fairness to Newport and fairness to Colin Floyd, he's been just playing unbelievable for Newport this year. In particular, his goal in the 45th minute, it made it 214 to 112. It was actually a Shane Flanagan shot. Look, he was breaking in on goals, probably wasn't the best shot in terms of placement. Good save all the same from the goalkeeper Shane Stapleton, but it deflected out to Colin Floyd, and he leathered it in from close range. So he got 111, I think, on the day out of the 119 from Newport. But he got some big scores as well late in the half. He made it a 3-point game on the 50th minute, so there was 9 points in it on the 41st minute, and on the 50th minute it was a 3-point game. Conor Floyd then got his second point. He got 3 in total on the day to make it a 2-point game, so it was 214 to 115, and it was back and forth, and Paddy Carey nailed some big frees late on for Shaun Tracey's. But with 58 minutes gone, it was only a 1-point game. Cian Flanagan got a big score, 217 to 119, but that would be the last score for Newport. Pat Deegan, the midfielder for Shaun Tracey's, broke through a lovely play, kind of interchange of a hand pass, and threw it over the bar. That was a big score, and then Paddy Carey nailed a free in his own 65 to go up by 3. And so there's 3 points in it in injury time. And Newport did get a chance. I feel like when there's 2-3 points in it at that stage of any game, you always get a chance, and Newport did get a chance, and it fell to their fullback, who broke through inside the 14 off his left, and it was just a bit of a tame effort. It was a good save by the goalkeeper on the line, but it was kind of literally right at his chest. If it was anywhere else, even a save could have been rebounded, but that's just how it goes. In fairness to Newport, Conor Floyd got some great scores late on. Colin Floyd, as we mentioned, Cian Flanagan, I think, got 2 points in the day. But it was Shaun Tracey's, Michael Feehan's goal, Paddy Carey, his goal, and his frees were massive for Shaun Tracey's, and those saves that we mentioned as well were big moments in the game. So Shaun Tracey's are safe. Newport won the relegation final last year. They lose it this year, so they go down to intermediate. But as we've mentioned, I think that their under-15s win a county title over the weekend. They've plenty of young talent. The under-17s are very good this year. So in another few years, those players will start to filter through. They still have lots of young players on that team as well. So look, it's disappointing for Newport to drop down to intermediate, but you would kind of back them within the next. It's going to be difficult because there's good teams in the intermediate, but you'd expect Newport to be competing very much into the back end of that competition next year. But there is the likes of Bursakane and Portroe in the north. Your Kilsheelans, your Goldens, Ballingarry again. So it's going to be difficult all the same. But you'd back Newport in the next few years to really get competitive at the back end of that championship with the young players they have coming through. So that's how the Premier Intermediate relegation final replay went. So now, after 45 minutes, we are ready to unveil my senior team of the year. So when you're picking a team of the year, it's always going to be nigh on impossible because you're never going to get anyone in. I probably don't agree with my team. Like, I'm going to show you the team, and people are going to be like, "What? How'd you not pick this lad? Like, this lad did this," and I'll probably be like, "Yeah, that's a good point." Like, you put these things together, and I put it together earlier today, and I've already made a couple of changes, and players that I had in are gone, and players that I had on the periphery, I thought, yeah, actually, no, never mind. So let's just get to it. We'll go position by position. So we'll start with goalkeeper. So I need to scroll this down slowly. So I was meant to do my reveal with my graphic. Like, I'll show you what I had kind of set up. I think this. We'll go back to here. So, right, in goals. Right, we'll go through. I have a list of honourable mentions as well, and that could be a mistake as well because someone's like, how did he not even get an honourable mention? But look, right, bear with me. So in goals, I think the best defence this year was probably Tumi Vara, and Rory Beslan had a really fine year. But he made some good saves in the final as well. Kind of saves you'd expect him to make, but good saves all the same. But I didn't really think in other games he was kind of asked. He wasn't maybe asked to make too many saves because the Tumi Vara defence kind of kept him out. But really fine year from Rory Beslan, so I haven't gone with him. I've instead gone for. Where are we? Reece Shelley. So Reece Shelley is who I have gone with for the senior team of the year. I'd love a way to make this a little bit better for the screen. It will get better as we go down through the team. So this is right down at the bottom. So look, we're not. It's not the best graphics of all time, but here we are. But Reece Shelley, he scored in every championship game, which apparently, according to the program, was the first time that's ever been done by a goalkeeper in the Dunbreen Championship. So he did score in every round that he played in, and look, I thought he made some big saves against Killadangan. In particular, his puck outs, albeit risky at times, and sometimes they malfunction. They really open things up. It's the puck outs he got off against Toom, some of them were just perfect down the field. And then those big saves against Killadangan at a time in that game where you kind of felt, even if that went in, it wouldn't have made much difference. But that turned out to be a huge thing. So I've gone with Reece Shelley. I think he's put himself in a good place to try and win that goalkeeping position back with Tipperary. So I've gone with Reece Shelley in goal. So we'll go with the full back line now. If I scroll this down slowly. Right, so the full back line, we have number 2, Lorcan Egan from Lockmore Castellini, number 3, Andrew Ryan from Tumi Vara, and number 4, Stephen Walsh from Carrick. So Stephen Walsh was just brilliant, especially in that game against Killadangan, surging up the field. I think was he marking Paul Flynn that day? Might have only kept him to 2 points if I have that matchup right in my head. But he was really, really good going both ways of the field. And if rumours are to be believed, he might have gotten the call from Liam Cahill to have a look at him. So he had a really fine year. Lorcan Egan, as we mentioned, doing that man marking job throughout the campaign. He was on Liam McCormack in the semi-final, and although Liam McCormack did kind of get the better of him for the first 15 minutes, I thought Lorcan Egan done really well, particularly in the second half of that game against Thurles. He was getting out in front of a really quick Liam McCormack, and he done a really good job on Darren McCarthy in the final as well. So those are my two cornerbacks. My fullback is Andrew Ryan Lock Tumivara. His only kind of poor game maybe was against J.K. Brackens, against Andrew Ormond. He was struggling with injury that day, calf strain. But I thought even in the final, I know maybe he got caught for that goal at the end with John McGrath, but he's been just one of my favourite players to watch. So much times even in that final, Lockmore looked dangerous, and it would just be a touch or a ball would break off to Andrew Ryan and he'd always be on it. So I thought he's had a really fine year as well, Andrew Ryan. So he's my full back. Right, the half back line then, we've 5, 6 and 7. So 5, Alan Flynn, Killadangan. 6, Brian McGrath, Lockmore, Castellini. And 7, Ronan Maher, Thurles Sarsfield. So I feel like the half back line has been really tough to decide. Alan Flynn is someone I had in. He's someone I had taken out. And I had a lot of movements. We'll go down through the honourable mentions. But when I kind of sat back and thought of it and thought of how I was thinking earlier in the year, Alan Flynn was just hurling unbelievable. I think he was so good in any game I saw this year of Killadangan. Really kind of one of them players as well that I know it doesn't count for much in terms of team of the year, but a lot of the times he's coming out, he kind of gets fouled or, could get flaked coming out with the ball and he just puts it down and runs back into position. But he was a massive leader for Killadangan all throughout this year. I don't think the loss to Mike Harkey was kind of any fault of Alan Flynn. I thought he had a really good year, and he got something like 4 or 5 points from play even in one of the games. I think that was against J.K. Bracken. So I thought this was one of his best years for Killadangan. And maybe he, there was a lot made of last year when, the True was under the bus comments and that sort of thing, that kind of stuff. But so maybe there was could have been a chip on the shoulder kind of thing, but I thought he hurled incredible for Killadangan. So he makes it at wing back. Brian McGrath, centre back, just solid as a rock throughout the year for Lockmore. Just a real sturdy centrepiece for that defence. So good in possession. He's able to get forward. He's got great striking. He can score as well. I thought he's been really, really good for Lockmore Castellini. Number 7 then, I did go with Ronan Maher. I felt like that Thurles Sarsfield's defence was so good this year. And there's a couple of them in the honourable mentions as well, but I thought Ronan was really good. He probably got the semi-final probably would have been disappointing for him with Massey McGrath kind of sitting on him. It kind of negated his influence on the game, but apart from that, I don't think he put a foot wrong in the championship. Did Ronan Maher. So that's who we've gone with in that half back line. Midfield then, one of the first names on the team sheet, probably if I was to tier the players, the third name on the team sheet would have been Kieran Cummins, Mike Harkey Burrows, midfield. Thought he was really, really good, really good as well. So scoring points, doing it all, kind of box-to-box stuff, but his points from play, I don't know if I can get it up in front of me here. Let's see, how do I right-click? That's not going to right-click. Right, I have a document with the scores in front of me, so let me just get that up there. Sorry, no, this is a terrible listen for the listeners rather than the viewers. It's not much good viewing either, but I have just done up some documents when I was going through championship scores. So Kieran Cummins, let me go to Mike Harkey. So Kieran Cummins had scored he scored that 5 points from play against Killadangan, and even I think he missed out an injury in a couple of games, but the game against Killadangan and the game against Toom, I thought he was really, really good in midfield. So I've gone with him in midfield alongside Kieran Connelly. Kieran Connelly of Lockmore scored something like 11, 12 points in the championship, but really solid and really, really good to see him back in full fitness. Would have been injured throughout the year, or throughout years gone by with hips and things like that. He was so impressive with those Tip under-20s teams, and then with UL and those Fitzgibbon Cup winning teams. So to see him get injured and really kind of lose a year or two was disappointing from a Tipperary point of view as well, but he's gotten back to full fitness, and I think this year will bring him on an awful lot. So great to see him back in full health, and thought he had a really, really good year, scoring from distance, work rate, He was everywhere for Lockmore, so I've gone with him in midfield. We'll go with the half forward line now. So we have kind of one positional switch here, but I don't think anyone's going to complain about this name being in the team. So we have number 10, Kevin McCarthy, number 11, Noel McGrath, and number 12, Billy Seymour of Kildangan. So Kevin McCarthy, 13 points in the championship for him, but his work rate, his just willingness to run, willingness to work, how compact he is, really, really like his style of play. His 5 points from play against my Carrick Burris was really, really good. 2 in the final, and was influential and hard working throughout. So I've gone with Kevin McCarthy. 11, Noel McGrath. Look, Noel McGrath didn't play centre forward for Lockmore this year, but I kind of felt like I had to fit him in somewhere. I actually had him at wing back when I first kind of drew up the team, but then I moved some names around. But you had to get him in there. He's just class. He's just he is one of the all-time Tipperary greats. If you were to do a Tipperary all-time 15, I think Noel McGrath's got to be in it. He's a legend of the game. Even in terms of off the field, coming back from illness and things like that, and how much of a joy it is to watch him play the game, his striking ability, how good he is to read the game. So I've gone with him at number 11. Number 12, I've gone with Billy Seymour of Kildangan. He scored 335 in the championship, 218 from play. He was lighting it up. The only blemish on his year was missed a free or two towards the end of that Mike Harkey game. So that's his only issue. Sorry, I just got a little notification there. I think we're still all good. So that's the only kind of blip on his record. But if you think about the goal he got even in that Mike Harkey game, and the goals he got against was a Temple-Derry where he nailed that one in top corner. So really, really good year for him. So he goes in at wing forward. So I think you definitely know 2 names of this full forward line. I don't think you've been following the championship if you can't name me 2 of them. But there could be a bit of a surprise here in the full forward position, but maybe not. So number 13, Darren McCarthy. Number 15, John McGrath. So I think, right, first names 1 and 2. John McGrath probably first name on the team sheet. Darren McCarthy number 2. And full forward, we have Sean Ryan, Temple-Derry Kenyans. So let's go down through it. Darren McCarthy, 361 in the championship, 213 from play. His free taking was brilliant. That performance against Mike Harkey with the 2 goals in the semi-final was incredible. Some of his free taking in the final as well was unreal. So Darren McCarthy, we have him at corner forward. Other corner forward, John McGrath, like what can you say, 160 in the championship, 114 from play, 1-3 from play in the final, 113 in total. But it's just general play has been unbelievable this year. And again, a player who had difficult injuries in recent years with the Achilles, and he is just brilliant. His hold-up play is incredible, and his ability to link up with players and things like that. And like that point he got just before half-time the other day, out on the sideline, off his left-hand side, a place where you're kind of letting a lad shoot, and just unbelievable. Has it in the wrists, has it in the heart. He's just one of those players any team would love to have, and he's really kind of led this Lockmore team to glory this year. So John McGrath is in there. If I was given a player of the year, it would be John McGrath. And then number 14, Sean Ryan. So maybe interesting to see a player there on the team that got relegated, but Sean Ryan missed the relegation final, and I mean he just carried this Temple-Derry team on his back in a year where they had so many injuries. He scored 416 in 4 games, so 411 of that from play. Scored some great goals, and it was a difficult year for Temple-Derry, as I mentioned, with all those injuries. That's what's coming up on the screen, so I'm not sure. Okay, I know. I got a notification there, but I don't think you can see it on the screen. But Sean Ryan, one of my favourite players to watch. Again, this is my team of the year, so you're going to think of someone different. I have a list of honourable mentions here, but this is pure subjective. This isn't fact. This is just from my eyeballs and how I perceive things. This is who I've gone with. So you all know I'm a big fan of Sean Ryan, his style of play, and 411 from play. There is one forward in particular I think that's probably hard done by, and that's Paul Flynn. I thought he was unbelievable this year. I think he scored 414 in the championship, so there's a great case to have him in there. But I just felt like Sean Ryan playing on a team where, maybe it's not as easy to score, or, a team that was struggling, and to do what he did this year. And He'll be an incredible threat in the Premier Intermediate Championship next year, that's for sure. So let's run you down through the 115 again. We have in goals Reece Shelley, Lorcan Egan, Andrew Ryanlock and Stephen Walsh. Half back line Alan Flynn, Brian McGrath and Ronan Maher. Midfield Kieran Cummins and Kieran Connelly. Half forward line Kevin McCarthy, Noel McGrath and Billy Seymour. And full forward line Darren McCarthy, Sean Ryan and John McGrath. So that is my team. I have a list of honourable mentions here that is quite long. So we did mention Rory Breslan. We mentioned Paul Flynn, 416 from playing the championship he had. Jamie Ormond scored something like 120 from play in the games for an 18-year-old. Incredible season from him. Andrew Ormond was brilliant. Lyndon Fairbrother as well. I'm not sure if I wrote his name down. Those two were really good. Kind of J.K. Bracken's almost forgotten about how good they were at the start of the campaign. I have James Cleary from Killer One written down. I thought he had a really fine year for Killer One. Dennis Maher from Thurles Sarsfields, and you can see there I have Ronan Maher there. So Ronan was one of the names that was an honourable mention then in the team, then back out. Jake Morris with Nina, Barry Heffernan with Nina, Connor Stakelin with Thurles Sarsfields. Like, if you think about Jake Morris, 4-5 in that game against Lura, and the Trent and all the other games, and Barry Heffernan, I thought, really back to his full self, kind of a year or two on now from that knee injury. So great to see him back in flying form. Thought he was really good for Nina this year. Connor Stakelin had a great campaign with Thurles. I think, did he get 7 or 8 points from playing that game against Mullinahone, and was effective in all the other games. And then we have the Lockmore contingent that just missed out. Willie Eviston was the player I had originally at cornerback on that graphic, and I just kind of changed it last minute. So I thought Willie Eviston was brilliant throughout this campaign. Ed Connolly in that final didn't score, but was brilliant in the late stages. He missed a couple of the games, I think, earlier on in the season, so probably hard to get him in because of that. And then we have the Mike Harkey contingent who missed out. Owen Hayes was really, really good in that semi-final against Toomevara. Had a fine game. So good at catching those high balls. Joe Maher, I thought was really, really good for Mike Harkey. You can't not mention Max Hackett. I don't think he did score in that semi-final, but that moment in the quarter-final will be one of the things that lives on in the top moments of this championship. No doubt that goal against Killadangan for Max Hackett. He got 4 or 5 goals in the championship. And then a couple of Toon players, Seamus O'Farrell, kind of given the donkey's work of marking the best forward on the other team every game. And I thought he performed really well this year for Toomevara, as did Conor O'Farrell in midfield. I thought he was very good in the final as well. So there are the honourable mentions. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's some I've forgotten about. You can let me know about that. But that is the senior team of the year that I've gone with for this year from the senior championship. So let me know who I forgot. Let me know your team. If you want to give me your full team in the comments below, do that. But I think that just about sums it up. We're an hour and 3 minutes into this podcast. And as I said earlier, thanks a million for... there's a spelling error there that I can't not fix. But thanks a million for following me and watching and listening to this podcast throughout the year, throughout the season. I've really enjoyed doing it. We've got good numbers on the podcast, so people seem to enjoy listening to it as well. So it's been really good. I'm not actually choking up. This is just my voice has gone a bit dry. So really, really enjoyed doing it. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to the channel. It's free to subscribe. If you just press the subscribe button, there's no fee or anything like that. So it's just a way of getting notified when I upload videos and things like that. So in terms of the next few weeks, I'm not sure how much podcasts I'll be doing or what the plan is. I do kind of have visions of off-season doing just kind of sit-down podcasts with people and just chatting away about hurling and things like that. So if that's something you'd like to see, let me know. I'm kind of half thinking about it, but I'd have to kind of formulate it in my head about exactly what I want to do and how I want to do it and things like that. So in terms of reviewing games, that's going to be pretty much it for this season until we get back with Tipperary. I'm looking forward to getting back with doing the podcast after the tip games and things like that, and I've got some ideas going forward for that. But in terms of the next couple of months, maybe we'll do podcasts after the Munster Club Championship games. Those are another few weeks away yet, so we'll worry about that then. But for now, like this podcast, share it if you can, give us a good rating on Spotify and things like that. You can follow me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We're trying to spread the good word. So thanks for listening to the podcast throughout the season. I've really enjoyed doing it. And we will see you when we see you on the next podcast. But for now, it's good luck and God bless.